Ethan Miller had worked at the same downtown gym for years. The clang of weights, the low hum of treadmills, the faint scent of metal and detergent. It was all part of his rhythm. He liked the routine, the predictability of helping others push toward their goals. Still, sometimes he caught himself looking around the room and feeling a quiet emptiness, one that even the noise couldn't drown out. That was before Ryan Carter started coming in. Ryan was one of those people who lit up a space without trying. Confident smile, easy laugh, always ready to make conversation. He'd signed up for personal training before his wedding, wanting to look good in the suit, as he joked on his first day. Ethan, professional as always, had nodded and started him on a routine. Over the weeks, their sessions turned from form checks and reps into long conversations about life. Ryan often talked about his fiancée, Lena, how hard-working she was, how she'd always wanted to move to another city once he got the promotion. Ethan listened politely, smiling when Ryan showed pictures between sets. But sometimes he noticed how Ryan's voice changed when he spoke about her. Fonder than before, but distant too, as if he was trying to convince himself everything was still perfect. Ethan never pried. He wasn't the type to ask about other people's relationships. Yet something about Ryan drew him in. The way he stayed late after workouts, the way his laughter softened when they were alone in the quiet gym. Maybe it was the way Ryan looked at him when he thought Ethan wasn't watching. Or maybe it was just that familiar ache of loneliness that made Ethan notice it all. One night, after closing, Ryan was still there, wiping down a machine that didn't really need cleaning. Outside, rain had started to fall, steady, rhythmic. The gym's lights cast long reflections on the wet floor, and the air felt heavy with the kind of calm that comes just before something changes. You ever get tired of people asking personal questions? Ryan asked suddenly. His voice was casual, but the words carried weight. Ethan looked up from his clipboard. Depends on the questions. Ryan leaned against the wall, eyes tracing the window where the rain fell harder now. I mean, people assuming things. Acting like they know who you are just because of one detail about your life. Ethan smiled faintly, recognizing the direction this was going. You mean because I'm open about who I am? Ryan hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, that, Ethan shrugged. It used to bother me. Not anymore. You stop worrying about opinions when you realize everyone's got something they're hiding anyway. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rain grew louder. Somewhere a treadmill beeped as it powered off. Ryan crossed his arms. You know, it's funny. I've never really talked to anyone like this. I tell my fiancé everything, but I don't know. You listen differently. Ethan looked at him then. Really looked. The reflection of the overhead lights shimmered in Ryan's eyes, and for the first time, Ethan saw something beneath the surface, something unsure, something searching. He forced himself to break the moment. You should head home. It's late, Ryan smiled but didn't move. Yeah, probably should. He paused, then added quietly, You ever think maybe love doesn't care who it picks? Ethan froze, caught between confusion and understanding. His throat felt tight when he finally said, I think love's always been stubborn that way. Ryan chuckled softly, but there was no humor in it. Figures. They stood there a few more seconds before Ethan turned to shut off the lights. Same time tomorrow? He asked. Yeah, Ryan said, walking toward the door. He stopped halfway and looked back. You make it really hard to stay straight when you talk like that, you know. Ethan blinked, unsure if he'd heard right. But Ryan was already halfway out the door, pulling up his hood against the rain. The gym door closed with a soft click that echoed louder than it should have. Ethan stood there for a long time, listening to the rain and the silence it carried. He knew better than to read into things. He'd been around long enough to recognize passing curiosity when he saw it. And yet something about Ryan's words lingered in his mind, steady and impossible to shake. That night, when Ethan finally turned off the last light and locked up, the reflection in the window stopped him for a second. Two silhouettes had been standing there not long ago, one sure, one uncertain, both pretending not to notice the spark that had quietly started between them. He took a deep breath and stepped out into the rain, telling himself it was just another client, just another night. But deep down, he already knew the line between friendship and something else had started to blur. A few weeks passed. and Ryan's sessions at the gym became quieter. The jokes came less often, the conversations shorter. Ethan noticed but didn't ask. It wasn't his place. Yet every time Ryan walked in, Ethan felt the same flicker inside him, the one he had tried to ignore since that night in the rain. Rumor had it that Ryan's transfer was finally approved. He and Lena would be moving to another city soon. Their sessions together would end, and Ethan told himself that was for the best. Maybe the distance would make things simple again. On their last evening, the gym was almost empty. The sound of weights clinking and the low hum of air conditioning filled the silence. Ryan arrived late, rain already soaking through his hoodie. Ethan handed him a towel without saying anything. Their hands brushed for half a second, and both pulled back quickly, like touching something too warm. They worked out quietly. No teasing, no small talk. Just the rhythmic sound of breathing, the occasional adjustment of form, and the soft echo of rain outside. Every few minutes, Ryan would glance toward Ethan, as if trying to memorize something he couldn't quite say out loud. When the clock neared closing time, Ethan grabbed the keys and said, "You don't have to help lock up tonight." "Go home, get some rest," Ryan hesitated. "Let me stay. Just for a bit." Ethan studied him for a moment, then sighed. "All right. Make sure the front doors are secure after I switch off the lights." As the final lights dimmed, the gym glowed faintly in the soft emergency light. The storm outside cast streaks of silver through the glass windows, painting the floor with rippling shadows. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that demands honesty. Ryan sat on the padded bench, running his hands through his damp hair. "You ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" he asked. Ethan leaned against a wall. "Sometimes. Why?" Ryan looked up. "Because I keep thinking about the choices I made. The person I thought I was. And lately, none of it feels right." Ethan folded his arms. "You're getting married, Ryan. Big changes make anyone doubt themselves." "It's normal," Ryan shook his head. "It's not about that." He looked down, voice softer. "It's about what happens when I'm here." Ethan's chest tightened. "Don't," he said quietly. Ryan met his eyes. "I'm not trying to make this complicated. He stopped, taking a breath. "I don't know what this is. I just know it doesn't feel wrong when we're talking." The words hung between them, fragile and dangerous. Ethan turned away, gripping the counter to steady himself. "That's what makes it dangerous," he said. "The fact that it doesn't feel wrong." Ryan stood slowly, closing the space between them, though still keeping a respectful distance. The rain outside grew louder, matching the weight of the silence between them. Neither of them moved closer, but the air carried the pulse of everything unspoken. Ethan's voice came low. "You've got a future waiting for you. Don't throw it away for something you don't even understand yet." Ryan gave a quiet laugh, more sad than amused. "You think I haven't tried to stop this? Every night I tell myself it's just admiration, just friendship. But then I see you, and I can't lie to myself anymore." Ethan closed his eyes, feeling the ache behind those words. "You'll regret saying that?" Ryan's voice cracked. "Maybe, but not as much as I'll regret never saying it at all." A long silence followed. In a faceless frame, only their shadows could be seen. Two outlines caught in flickering light, facing each other yet separated by the kind of distance words can't bridge. Finally, Ethan whispered, "Ryan, whatever you're feeling right now, it's real. But it doesn't have to mean something reckless." Ryan nodded slowly, his expression unreadable in the dim light. "You always know what to say." He reached for his bag, slinging it over his shoulder. As he walked toward the door, he stopped and looked back one last time. "Thanks for everything," he said softly. Ethan forced a smile. "Take care of yourself, Ryan." Ryan lingered for a second longer, as if wanting to add something, then stepped outside into the rain. The door closed quietly, leaving Ethan alone with the sound of distant thunder and his own thoughts. He stood still for a while, staring at the door as the rain blurred the city lights beyond it. The reflection of his silhouette looked different tonight. Lonelier somehow. Ethan finally turned off the last light and whispered to himself, "Goodbye, Ryan." The gym fell into darkness, but the air still carried the faint warmth of the moment they hadn't dared to cross. The kind of moment that changes everything, even when nothing is said or done. A month passed since that stormy night. The gym returned to its usual rhythm. The early morning lifters, the chatter of regulars, the clinking of weights. But to Ethan, everything felt slightly off, like a song missing one familiar note. He had told himself that time would fix it, that what he felt for Ryan was just a passing connection born out of loneliness and late-night conversations. Still, sometimes when he walked past the treadmill where Ryan used to train, he caught himself pausing, remembering the sound of his laugh, the way he always adjusted his gloves twice before a set, the quiet focus in his eyes. Ethan never let the thoughts linger long. He buried them beneath routine, new clients, new programs, new days. But at night, when the gym was empty and the city outside blurred with rain again, it all came back. Then one evening, just before closing, the front door opened. The soft jingle of the bell broke his focus. Ethan looked up, expecting a late member, and froze. Ryan stood there. Same jacket, same quiet eyes, but something about him looked different. He seemed lighter and heavier at the same time. "Hey," Ryan said softly. Ethan didn't move. "You shouldn't be here." Ryan nodded, almost expecting the response. "I know, I just needed to talk," Ethan exhaled slowly. "You didn't get married." It wasn't a question. Ryan shook his head. "No, I couldn't. It wasn't fair to her." Ethan leaned against the counter, trying to steady himself. "You figured it out then?" Ryan hesitated. "Not completely, but I figured out that pretending wasn't helping anyone. Lena deserves someone who can give her everything. And I wasn't that person." Ethan stayed quiet. There was nothing to say that didn't feel like crossing a line again. Ryan took a few steps closer, his voice trembling. "You don't have to say anything. I just wanted you to know that night changed me. I've spent weeks trying to hate myself for feeling something I wasn't supposed to feel. But the truth is, I don't regret it." Ethan's chest tightened. "You think this is simple? You think I didn't feel it too?" Ryan looked up, startled. Ethan's voice softened. "I cared about you, Ryan, I still do. But feelings don't always mean you're meant to be together. Sometimes they're just lessons we needed to learn." Ryan swallowed hard. "So that's it?" Ethan nodded slowly. "That's it, for now. You need to find out who you are before you pull someone else into that journey. Even me," the silence stretched between them again. "The kind that used to say everything words couldn't." Ryan looked around the gym, the weights, the mirrors, the place that had witnessed the quiet shift between them. He smiled faintly. "You always had a way of saying things that make sense, even when I don't want them to." Ethan chuckled quietly. "Occupational hazard. Trainers are good at telling people what they need to hear, not what they want to." Ryan looked down at the floor, then back up. "You made me realize I've been living for everyone else. Maybe it's time I start living for myself." Ethan's eyes softened. "That's the bravest thing you can do." For a moment, they stood there, not as trainer and client, not as something forbidden, but as two people who had changed each other in ways neither fully understood. Ryan finally reached for the door. "Guess this is goodbye then," Ethan nodded. "For now. But hey," he called out as Ryan turned to leave. "Don't run from yourself anymore." Ryan gave a small, genuine smile. "I won't." The door closed behind him, and the soft sound of rain filtered in again. Ethan stood still, watching the faint reflection of Ryan's silhouette disappear into the night. He looked around the empty gym, the quiet hum of lights above him, the echo of their conversation still lingering in the air. A part of him hurt, but another part felt free, like he had done the right thing, even if it wasn't the easy one. He turned off the lights, one by one, until only the window's reflection remained. In the dark glass, Ethan saw himself, alone, but at peace. For the first time in a long while, he smiled. He whispered softly, as if Ryan could still hear him. "Sometimes love isn't about having someone. It's about helping them find themselves." Outside, the rain fell gently, washing the city in silver. The camera, if there were one, would pan to the streetlights reflecting off wet pavement, then fade into black with the final line appearing on screen. The heart always knows the truth, even when the world says it shouldn't. The music swells. Soft piano. Slow fade out, leaving the viewer with quiet emotion, not drama. A story about honesty, about love that never crossed the line, and about two people who changed each other forever without breaking the rules they knew mattered most.